Yes, I'm Roberta Miller from 6140 Muskrat Bay Road, and I was here on July 28th during the board meeting to talk about enforcement of the speed limit on Muskrat Bay Road, specifically between the street numbers of 6042 and 6278. That's the long stretch, the straightaway that's between the houses and the lake. At that time, I presented a petition with about 36 signatures. I talked to Chief Snell about it. They did put up the speed sentry, I think for 2 24-hour periods during August 7th and 22nd. And the town's response to my suggestion and the other neighbor's suggestion was to hand out educational flyers. 2 times, 2 1-hour periods. The educational flyers do not address the fact that people are constantly speeding on the street. They address cell phone use, how the number of fatalities, number of children are killed. It doesn't address the specific problems. I requested more street signs, better street signs, radar enforcement, some consistent radar enforcement so people realize that it is 60 miles an hour. This stretch of road is unique to our area. It runs between people's properties, right down the property line. So you have people crossing the street, there's no shoulder on the road, and as you know, the street is often used for biking and recreation. I don't think the response was adequate, and I also have to question the results of the speed sentry. Not saying it wasn't accurate, but it's in the documentation I got, it said that it was picked up speeding from 800 feet away. Does it pick up this? Where does it record the speed? When you're on top of the speed sentry, or 800 feet away? That's one of my questions. But I'd like to see something else done about this. I mean, it is just ridiculous as far as the total disregard for human life. And I'm not exaggerating. Are we going to wait until we make the front page of the papers before somebody is injured on that street? And it's very congested on the street. The houses are close together. Most lots are 40, 50 feet wide. So, I mean, it's different than some of the other suburban neighborhoods around here. It's heavily populated. There's no shoulder. The road is in poor repair, so it makes braking and controlling your car a lot harder if you do have to swerve out of the way. So something needs to be done about this, and I'd like to know if you're going to act on my recommendation, you want to meet with some of the other neighbors about some of the things that we could do to stop the speeding, to help reduce it greatly.
Chief, you want to address any of those comments?
Well, we did the speed studies we've done on many other roads in the town. The speed study did not indicate the necessity to put an officer out there and utilize the resources of an officer out there for extended periods of time. I think we only recorded maybe 2 or 3 vehicles altogether in that time period. We did in excess of 40 or 50. And most of the vehicles were under the speed limit, at the speed limit or under it, and I believe about 17% may have been 1 to 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. Let me finish. Okay.
I'd like to, I know this isn't the time, but I'd like to sit down with this because there's walkers and bicyclers.
I gave you that study well over, I think, 2.5, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You could give me a call anytime to sit with me and we can discuss that. And I'd be more than happy. In fact, I personally drove out to deliver that to you and hope that you would give me a call.
Okay, well then
Okay, perhaps if you want to set up a time to meet with the chief and whoever else, maybe a neighbor or whatever, you could sit down and discuss the analysis and the next step.
I just want to say that I have met or spoken with Jody, and we are looking at it. We have some serious concerns about all the roads in the town. And I've talked to Jody, and we understand that it's a narrow road, there are no shoulders, it's unique in that you have houses on one side and the entertainment or recreational property on the other side. And so there is a lot of crossing of the road. And one of the things we're looking at, and again, it's off the wall type of conversation right now, but it's looking at maybe possibly lowering the speed limit if we can legally if it was designed to be a recreational bike trail or something like that. And I can't even say legally that can be done at this point.
Yeah.
So it's not that we're ignoring it, it's just that for me to put resources out there as much time as we would want is not gonna benefit, because we'd be out there and we wouldn't be writing any tickets. We wouldn't be enforcing the law.
Well, my part, okay,
And there is a cost to that type of,
I realize there's a cost.
I know.
But, as far as with this type of road going, it's not like a throughway, you got a 15-mile speed, leeway of speeding. Within 7-5 miles, people should be stopped, because of the condition of the road and all these other factors. And it is too fast.
One of the things I would have to do is speak with the courts, the judges, to see whether or not they would entertain a ticket that was 1 to 2 miles an hour over the speed limit.
You mean to say you can't do a ticket 1 or 2 miles over?
I can do a ticket, ma'am, I can do a ticket for half a mile over the speed limit.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean the court isn't gonna throw it right back at me and say I'm wasting their time. I don't know what the judge is gonna say, or what the court's gonna say. I need to discuss that with the courts. Generally, we don't write tickets 1 to 2 to 3 miles.
I understand that, but you're talking 7, 10 miles?
Not most, no. Most of the traffic, if I remember the study, because we've done a lot of them, but if I remember that one, I think 80% of the traffic was at the speed limit, and I think it was 17 to 18% were between 1 to 5 miles an hour over the speed limit.
Okay, what we, looking at that and taking out some of the lower factors, the people, the 5 miles to 18 miles an hour, that has to account for whether walkers, bicyclists.
No, walkers and bicycles it wouldn't pick up, but probably cars that are slowing down.
I went past it, it does pick up bicycles.
It does?
Yes, it does.
it does, chief.
No, that surprises me, I didn't think it would.
And what I think to consider, I think
But it's
with
still
the chief,
going to volume.
And it can pick up people just pulling out of their
What-
driveway.
I think also with the chiefs, we've discussed this before with that particular road. If somebody is going exactly the speed limit with that road, it's too fast for that particular road. So the issue is even trying to slow them down even greater than the.
I'd love to
the
see
30.
that, but if we can't enforce the 30, how are we gonna enforce the 25, 15?
But I think the appearance also, if somebody is going 30, is that it's too fast for that particular road. And we can't do anything about it, because the state law says that's the lowest we can set a speed limit at.
Okay,
Unless you're in a school zone.
okay.
So and I think that's why Chief brought up the fact that perhaps if you make it something to a bike trail or walking trail, you could
We're
look
right
into
now
that.
exploring, and we're going to be asking Heather to look into that. If we look at making it recreational trails, or some way that we can lower the speed limit, due to the fact that it is like a recreational corridor that may go down Mud Mill Road and Beach Road.
I mean, some of that, we haven't looked at that before, but that's a possibility along with these other things. I don't know if the VIPs have gone out there or to show a little presence. I know we've done that in the past, but
Well, the VIPs are out there doing handing out
the educational material. Okay. So I think if you sit down with the chief and we, perhaps the supervisor, myself, once again, can sit down with you and go over what the plan is. I like this idea about the recreation corridor or something. We could look into that.
Okay. I think that'd be great, and I think that would be a great asset to the town of Cicero if you have more people-friendly areas, if you want it.
Okay. Thanks.
But, okay, so when can I follow up with you on
You
this?
can give me a call anytime,
Anytime.
call the police department, and
So our next step is to look to make it a recreational corridor?
Well, I think the next step is we're going to sit down with the chief and
well, what
then.
we'll do is sit down
Well, I
and
mean, that's
discuss.
our
We'll look
agenda.
over the data, and we'll discuss the data, we'll discuss some options that you may have. We talked about signage, that's always a possibility. I mean, the recreational corridor is something that Jody and I have to discuss, and then discuss with the attorneys and look into it. Because I'm not exactly sure what that entails.
Okay. And then we can get a report back here next meeting as to where we are.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else?